May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be to the greater honor and glory of God. Amen. So I grew up in a time where I remember our first television it was in a tall console, and it was a 13-inch black and white. And it was a big deal when we got one of those bigger 19-inch color televisions. And so then we kept the little 13 black and white, but it went upstairs into the boys' bedroom. But during that period of time, it was not uncommon for some of these 1950s and very early 60s sitcoms to be shown in rerun form. And for those who get into that kind of thing, if you have live streaming service, you can just about find all of those. I'm talking about the Dick Van Dyke Show, Leave It to Beaver, Father Knows Best, and on and on and on. One of the things I remember about those sitcoms and those shows is that there would always be one episode in which the main male character, maybe he was a co-executive or something, would invite his boss home for supper unannounced. No warning at all. And the traditional housewife, who's, in her immaculate dress, hair all made up, makeup, house immaculate, and she's got on high heels and earrings, jewelry, and she's got on her long apron and everything. You could picture it. And she would have her pot roast all done with the vegetables, and she would have, homemade pie ready. It was no big deal, for her to just set another place setting. This is wonderful. One more person, not a problem. Today, if I was to invite somebody home unannounced, Lydia would probably not appreciate that all that well.
No, I wouldn't, but we would make do. Like venison steak or something like that.
If she was not cooking supper already, she would probably say, "There's the kitchen. You go make something for your guest." Or you better, call that DoorDash or whatever, or order that pizza, for the guest. Have you ever had I'm being serious, have you ever had an unexpected guest come to your home and then expect to be fed? Now, sometimes, they're willing to go out to eat, but sometimes if you're, if it is close to supper time or whatever, you kind of make do and make things work out. But then sometimes, what's your reaction? Do you go into frantic mode? Do you go into Martha mode? Or do you, would you be the Mary of today, and like I said, just do Uber Eats or DoorDash, or have a pizza delivered or something, and make do? Today's gospel is a famous gospel. There's a lot of ink been spilled on the Mary and Martha story. These two sisters who Jesus comes to their home. Now, we got to remember that it's Martha who invites Jesus to come to her home. We've got to keep that in mind there. So, the response is this sudden fury of activity going on, preparing food for, we're talking 13, at least 13 here, because it's Jesus and the 12 disciples are with him as well. So it's not just bringing the boss home. Then the other response from Mary is attentiveness. So we have Martha is activity, Mary is attentiveness. Martha is a perfectionist. Everything has to be just right for Jesus and the disciples. Everything has to be absolutely perfect. and she is going to do everything she can to make that happen. We have a similar story, though, in Genesis, where Abraham is sitting outside of his tent, and all of a sudden these three men, visitors, show up. And back in those days, hospitality was a big thing, so you didn't turn away guests. So he tells, it's interesting though, that he tells his wife Sarah, go quickly, take 3 measures of flour, and make these cakes, these unleavened little breads, for them. So, in that sense, you think, oh, there's a sense of urgency. But yet, on the other hand, he tells his servant to go out and to kill one of the fattest calves. And we're not told whether or not he's serving steaks or whether they're roasting the whole thing. Probably in those days, they would have just roasted the whole thing. Well, it's going to take hours to prepare that and get that ready. But there's still the hospitality, but there's no sense of real urgency other than telling Sarah to go make those cakes quickly. This takes a lot of time. Now, going back to that Martha and Mary story, Martha is in a rush. She's put herself into an unrealistic sense of urgency. She didn't have to make it all happen right then and there. She could have taken the time to draw it out. When unexpected guests do visit you, do you rush to prepare a meal, or do you sit and you visit for a while and then think about the meal? Or maybe you throw something in an oven or some meal, and then you visit while it's cooking. Also, the funny thing that I find is, you know how often I rail about triangulation. So, who does Martha go and complain to? Does Martha go and complain to Mary? No, she goes and complains to Jesus about Mary. That is true triangulation. The funny thing is, triangulation usually happens behind somebody's back. This is happening right to Mary's face. And then, of course, then Jesus kind of has to put Martha in her place. Martha prioritizes the meal and the urgency and the importance of hospitality, and Mary prioritizes the visit and the time that she has to visit with Jesus. We also have to remember, too, in the Gospel of Luke, that this is Jesus making his way to Jerusalem to die on the cross. And so Mary may not know it and be aware of it, but this, yes, Jesus is going to be resurrected and could possibly have time with Martha and Mary afterwards, but this is their last opportunity to see Jesus before he dies on the cross. So would you want Martha to be frantic during this time, or to spend that last time? If somebody that you know is dying, do you want to be frantic doing things, or do you want to spend the last minutes you have with them, just being present with them? We often measure our faith by how much we do and how much we accomplish. And then there's nothing wrong with that. But the Bible passage, Psalm 46:10, says, "Be still and know that I am God." It doesn't say get busy and do frantic ministry and know that I am God. It says, "Be still and know that I'm God." Not get anxious about God. So reading the Bible and praying each day is not wasting time. We have to have some Mary time in our life. Sometimes we're called into action to love our neighbor, and sometimes intentional quiet and presence with state in today's society, rather than back in the 50s and 60s. If you can put a pizza in front of somebody or take them out to eat, and just be present with them as you would be present with Jesus in time of prayer.